Hello everybody and welcome back to Tlatoani, where last episode we struggled to get our prosperity up, and this episode is probably going to be much of the same. So that is, of course, exciting. Let's go ahead and get a stone road put in right out over here. Excellent. And we do want to move this aqueduct a little bit. So we're going to do exactly that. That's going to be going in like this, and we're going to be removing all of that. And the idea behind this is we want to be able to build 2-tile structures in this area. So we'll just get going on that. So that looks good. That'll take some time, of course, for that to actually be a thing. Now, I want to check in on the status of our noble houses out over here. Everything it needs. Improvements are under construction. Improvements are under construction. And improvements are under construction. That's good. That's very, very good. So that looks excellent. We also have some noble houses up over here. Ambience still. Really? Look at all those mosaics. Look at all those gardens. What more do you want? That's ridiculous. This palace up over here wants healthcare. That's fair enough. It wants an herbalist or a house of healing nearby. We could put a house of healing potentially up over here. We could also put an herbalist right up over here. And that would reach both of those. It wouldn't reach here. But this isn't reporting that we need more healthcare. Yet. It will be. So currently we do have a sweeper. We have our basin. We have steam baths. And we have a dentist. So I'm thinking an herbalist perhaps out over this way somewhere. Maybe right here. If we removed those gardens, moved them to be out over this way. So 1, 2, 3, 4 without removing any trees. Like that. And then we put in an additional herbalist right here. That will reach both of these modest palaces. This house of healing will not reach down over here. It needs access to water from a cistern. Right, it would. So in that case, I'm thinking about how we want to pipe this up there. And I think the way I want to do that is I put a cistern in right here. And then we just connect up this aqueduct right here. Oh, that requires clearance. Okay. We'll connect in the aqueduct right here then. Okay. So something like that, we'll get that underway. That looks good. So more healthcare is on the way in. It'll just take a little bit of time here. But this guy still wants ambience. That's insane. What more can I do as far as ambience goes, to be honest? I assumed that this was going to be enough ambience. What's our default direction? It's one of these. This one? This one. Okay. So I assumed that this would be enough ambience. What is detracting from its ambience? This is fabulous ambience, and this is fabulous ambience. Huh. I'm looking at the ambience map mode here. I don't see a problem. It looks like it has enough ambience to me. Very strange. Well, we'll just continue for now, and maybe it'll get upgraded eventually. That would be the dream. So at this point, we do have an excess of working-age nobles. So that's noted. One thing we could consider doing out over this way is putting in something like a temple, but where would we do that? I don't think we would. We clearly do need to have some additional exports happening. And I'm going to have these go to other locations than the capital from here on out. I do want to spread out where they're going to. Let's see. We have Chalco. Okay. Tlacopan. There we go. So I'm spreading out who they're going to, and hopefully that will solve that problem. I'm hoping that will boost our income, because we could definitely use it. We may also want to consider dropping our wages down to about here. We'll see how that ends up playing out. So our prosperity is still chilling at about 51, but I really think that it's because we're not making enough money. I think if we were making more money, that would basically solve itself, is my theory. We're lacking staff up over on this side, and I can't say I'm shocked about that. I'm going to put in one additional common home right here. I don't want to build too many of them, but we do need more adult commoners. That is definitely true. The plan was to put in some homes over in this area. So for now, we can put in a common home here and here, and that will access basically all of these services. So that looks good. We'll get that underway, and hopefully our prosperity will start to rise soon enough. Of course, these are going to be dropping our prosperity at first. Cloth. We do have cloth in this area, don't we? Yes, you should be providing cloth, but we might not actually have enough cloth production. My guess is that this is not actually to do with cloth production, but rather to do with Megui imports. There's only so much of that we can actually get. I'm going to max out this import, but that's the current theory. But we may want to build additional cloth weavers, and down here is not a terrible place to do that. Now, this is not currently on a road. We should probably fix that. I'm going to take this road down to here, and then we're going to do stone road like this, but this entire area over here should be chinampa'd. So we're going to get started on some chinampas out over this way. There's only so much that we can actually chinampa, but we can do something like that to get started on it. We'll just start knocking some of those swamps back. And this spot over here is a little obnoxious. Okay, so down over here, this home needs access to a sweeper. I mean, it has access to a sweeper. It'll just be a little bit. So that seems relatively fine for now. Up over this direction, I want to check in on this home. Needs access to more clean water. That is probably an actual issue. Yeah, so we've got that basin there. This is going to be connecting over this way. I'm just thinking, what does this road here look like? It connects right there. Let's connect it in like this. And then the question is, if we were to put in a well dipper up over here, which would upgrade to a basin. If we put in a well dipper somewhere over here, it could go to about here and be able to service all of that in that area, as well as being able to service some of this area out over here. Not that we have houses there. Okay, so something like that. And we, of course, need access to water from this cistern. Oh, I didn't put in this aqueduct right here. That would help. That would absolutely help. Okay, so we'll get that going. Why did you downgrade? This noble compound downgraded. Huh. I don't know why that happened. It now has access to everything it needs. Well, this House of Healing needs herbs, and we know that that's going to be a thing. This herbalist also needs herbs, and I'm wondering where the nearest gardener is. We've got a gardener somewhere around here. Yeah, that doesn't quite reach up over here. So that's fine. We'll put in a new gardener up over this direction. So we'll put that in somewhere around here. Looks good to me. And then we'll start getting some small gardens in here. And we'll just fill in some of these areas. Something like this for now. I don't want to fill up too much of this if I can help it. Because we do have some... Oh, are we at 30 of 30? Yeah, we must be at 30 of 30. Beautiful. Let's get that going. We do have some sawyers around here, and we don't want to take out too many of these trees if we can help it. But we'll get some gardens in there. And maybe that'll help the ambience of this area down over here. I don't know. Probably not, if I had to guess. So our prosperity is at 52 right now, but this noble compound is still downgraded. And that's very awkward, for sure. Very, very, very awkward. Okay. So with that in mind, we are going to need to get this re-upgraded, and it should just automatically re-upgrade itself, I would think. I'm actually going to move one of these gardens, and it's going to be this one right here. And I want to move that to be up over this direction instead, because I want this to actually be a road connected up right here. That'll just get us a little bit further reach from, like, this House of Healing. That still doesn't quite reach this palace by 1 tile. Oof. What can we do about that? 1 tile. I don't know. It's ambience that's the problem down here anyway. So for the time being, that seems relatively fine. Now, we're at 977 out of 983 commoners, and we could definitely consider putting in some more jobs down over here. This is really intended to be the place where these stone quarriers work, or rather live, but I don't think that's the way that actually works. They don't seem to be reshuffling around where they live to live closer, which is a little bit sad, to be sure. I'm trying. That's for sure. So at this point, this modest estate here, it needs to get upgraded. I want to check in on the status of our noble compounds out over here. This one needs jewelry. Okay, we knew that would likely become a thing. So does anyone other than the capital export jewelry? These guys export jade. Feathers, gold, jade, and other precious stones. So we input, I think that's feathers, and that's jade. Interesting. I'm going to put some jewelers up over here. Specifically, I'm going to put in 3 of them. Now, we don't have a source of feathers as of right now. Do we? These are all like deer out over here. I'm looking for things like quail, but our hunting appears to be deer here. So I think we're going to have to import the feathers. So, out over this direction, I'm going to put in a trading post. That's going to go right here. We're going to go to the, let's see if anybody exports feathers. Yeah. So Malinalco out exports both feathers and jade. 80 and 160. So feathers is here. And we need this to be Malinalco. We are going to import 80 feathers, and we're going to import 160 jade. Like that. And then our jewelers can start working on that. So then we're going to need to be accepting of jewelry in this area. So this border yard is full. I think they can be directly fed from this trading post. This porter stop can accept jewelry. So that seems good. And then out over this direction, we need to start getting the jewelry to this market. So, to that end, how can we go about doing that? This border yard is at 6 of 6, which we'd expect. This border yard also expected to be at 6 of 6. This one up here expected to be at 6 of 6. We could put a porter stop here maybe, and that might be able to get it there. Oh, requires clearance. Okay. In that case, there's this porter stop here. That's getting weapons and armor for this barracks. There's a porter yard here, though, that could reach to get the armor and supply the armor for this barracks. But this porter stop, it doesn't quite reach this large market. That's the issue. So we would be able to redirect that, except that we can't. We do definitely have a lack of cloth. We may have to import more cloth. Okay, so this is from Chalco here. Just maximize our import of Megui, for sure. We definitely need more cloth. That's a significant thing. But we gotta get down over here. So this is Now, what if we backed off on the clay here? And we instead got jewelry and fed that to this market. So that should be fine. And then down over this way, we need to feed this market and we need to feed this market with jewelry. So we've got this porter stop right here. That gets weapons and armor. That's understood. We've got this porter yard right here. It's working on it. We definitely need more Megri. There's no doubt about that. So up over somewhere, there must be a place that we can do this. There must be. We could remove some gardens out over this way and put a porter stop here. Or we could just put one here if it reaches. It does not reach. Would a full-size porter yard? It would. So I'm going to put in a full-size porter yard there. That also reaches this market. So we can then have this be getting cloth. We can have this be getting jewelry. We can have this be getting pulp. We can have this be getting pottery. This is mostly getting this sort of stuff. We are going to need some timber here. And then I think we need some cotton. Okay, so something along the lines of that. And that will feed jewelry to all of our large markets. Okay. That's not necessarily going to help our financial issue because we're going to be importing feathers and jade. And we're not really going to be exporting much of anything. At least in regard to that. But we'll see. We will see. I think it's very clear that we need more trading post output. There's only so much that these guys will accept. Here's what I'm thinking is the way that this works right now. I'm noticing that these guys up here, they're spending a lot of time not actually trading. And so I suspect that this is timed, and they can only export 120 every X time. Whether this be months, years, I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly how that works. But my theory is that that's how that works, and if we're at the cap, which as you can see here, we're pretty close, then we're just not going to get any progress on it. So that means that as long as these are full up, which they're not entirely full up, but as long as they are full up, then we probably should have at least some of these trading posts instead be going to the capital. So I'm going to have these go to the capital. We're going to get a much worse price, but they're actually willing to purchase. So is it ideal? No. But there immediately goes our trading post. So yeah, I think that's the way that we got to do this. So this is kind of overflow at this point, and the rest of this is absolutely fine in theory. So we're at 52 out of 70. This is now a modest estate at this point. So that's something anyway. 1 out of 2 servants. So we definitely do need some more housing. My question is where? Where is this housing most needed? So we've got the trip time here, but that's an industry thing. Okay, so we can see that the residents here need to travel a very long way to work, but can we see where they're trying to work? The staff here need to travel a very long way to get home. So homes out over here would probably be not a bad idea because there's staff that needs to travel out over here. So I'm going to put one here, I'm going to put one here, and one here for right now. We'll put in 4 homes over here. Now, we've got this basin. This basin actually reaches all of these homes. We're probably going to want to put some more base level services over here. So specifically a sweeper and a sentry post. I'm going to do a sentry post here and a sweeper here. So we'll get those underway. That will get us more housing in this area to hopefully reduce our trip times in some of these spots. But it's clear that we need more housing over in this area. That's very, very clear. So we'll get that going for now. And that will be absolutely wonderful. We need more housing up here. We need more housing over here, I suspect. Yeah, that's going to require some work. Okay, so water quality is good. These should upgrade at least once, probably closer to twice, although I think they're going to have some problems. I do want to remove this set of canals out over here. We want those gone, and we're going to end up changing where this road is after we get this all chinampa'd, because that will absolutely need to happen, because this is all a swamp now. So we're going to get that chinampa'd, but as these get removed, there's going to be a couple more spots here that need to get chinampa'd. Okay, perfect. Something about like that. So that canal is gone. It doesn't need to be worried about anymore. So that looks good. Down over this way, I do want to also be chinampa'ing this entire area of swamp. So we'll continue to work on that. Our prosperity has dropped to 48, and that is because we have these new base level homes over here. I'm also noticing this home did take some damage. It got repaired, but it also upgraded to a small house. So that's causing me to think about where our nearest mason yard is, and I think that's quite a long ways away. Mason yard up over here, once we get this road moved, would not be a bad idea. I do want to take a road up and around over here to at least about here or so. And then we'll do dirt road up in this little area because this is swampy. That's all fine. Okay. And then we can start running some road across like this. It's not going to be fully done because of our chinampas, but that's okay. So then something kind of like that. And then this area back over here, we of course, this is pretty full up right now. So that's understood for now. Okay, let's get road in there, and let's start taking out the road that is currently here, because that's not strictly speaking necessary at this time. Here, I think it's okay. So we'll keep that section of road. Yeah, that seems relatively fine. So something like this, and then we could then have this road go here like that. It's mildly awkward, but I think that's the way I'm going to do that. And then we can put in a mason yard about there. Cool. So that looks good for now. We still need more commoners. So I think out over here is a good spot for a housing development. We'll put in a common home here, 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 like that. And then we can put in a stone road kind of like this. This is an awkwardly sized block, but we knew that would be the case. So something about like that. We've got our basin right here, and we've got a gardener there, but that doesn't really help us right now. I'm going to put in a sweeper and a sentry post right in that little spot. Okay, so a good amount of housing going in there, and that should hopefully help our trip times out in this area, at least somewhat. I see that our trip times have definitely improved by putting in some housing over here. So I think they do move around which homes they live in. It's just that we've not had enough housing for them to have good choice. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking right now. So now housing up over here is being a little bit overbuilt, and housing over this way would be better. So let's put in a little bit of housing right up over here. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, and that's it for now. I'm thinking this basin does reach, so that seems fine. Okay, so let's get that in there, and that will help out trip times up in this area, in theory. Of course, we've got other areas of trip times that we need to sort out. There's some of this down over here, but as we get people moved around, places like this should start to move to other locations, and then people who work here can move here. That's the idea anyway. So we'll get these homes in here, and then I want to look at, okay, this is an area where we definitely need to have some new housing built. I'm thinking up over here, but we do have outcrops in this area that will make it a little bit awkward. Down here is another good area to put in some housing, so I'm going to take a stone road up and around over to about here, like that. And then we can see about putting in at least a little bit of housing right here. Do we have a basin nearby? The basin is here, and that does actually reach both of those. And then we've got a sentry post and a sweeper right here. That reaches both of those as well. So let's get that in there, and that will help trip times somewhat as well. It's definitely an improvement. Okay. So this modest palace wants ambience down over here. We can definitely work on that with some mosaics. So we can get some mosaics in out here like this. I missed a spot. There we go. And we can get some mosaics up over this direction, down this way, and just boost up our overall area here. Okay. And then we can also put some gardens, like over here or something. But that's okay for now. So these homes out over here, they're doing fine for the moment. They'll work on getting upgraded. I want to check on what we've got up over here. So these haven't upgraded yet. They need access to more religion, and that's not terribly shocking. I'm going to put in a shrine up over this direction. This is good symmetry, but I hate the positioning. This is good symmetry and is much better positioning. And then this is also good symmetry. So we'll get that put in there. That will boost religion here, and all of this housing over here. So that looks good for now. This common home will get upgraded soon enough. I do think that we could probably use another mason yard about there. And let's get that going. So our prosperity is currently at about 50, but we're going to be focusing on these trip times and attempting to reduce that by providing housing in certain areas that clearly need it. This is a decent spot to put in some housing, although I think they're going to be lacking in some potential resources over here. Interesting. I'm going to do this. Wait, these are farmers' huts. I want common homes. I'm going to do this for now. And there's a lot of trees over here that I can't really see what we've got going on behind them. So we're going to do this, and we are probably going to need to put a basin in up over this way, is my theory. Where is our nearest basin? We've got this cistern here. That goes to this basin. So this basin actually reaches. Okay. So then the idea was that we can take this road back here, but then we've only got so much space here. So we can put in one additional home here, and then we can put in down over this way. We can actually just cram in a sweeper and a sentry post right there to make sure that that has services in this area. I like it. That kind of fits perfect. I don't know about a market over here. A market is maybe not reachable at this moment. Not quite. It's very close to reaching this large market. And this small market, one house reaches. So we're going to need to put a small market up over this way. And I don't think we have a sufficiently nearby granary to feed this market. So we're probably going to need one of those too. I'm going to put that in right here, although it's mildly awkward. Okay, so something like that. And this market should be fed with everything it needs from these quarter yards at this point. So that looks fine. This is a mildly awkward granary position, but it'll do. Okay, so that should be fine, and these homes should have everything they need. Yeah. So that looks good. We'll get them developed on up. But it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we'll continue to work on getting our trip times down a little bit. We're up to 56 prosperity, so we're actually making solid progress here. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Dark Horse, Ethan Feldman, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, Rornaz, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video. And as always, I will see you all next time.